Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. Hope you're doing well on this beautiful Saturday. It is amazing here in California today. As you can see, the sunshine is out and it's doing half my face. So I apologize for the light. I thought I would do a first half part of May wrap up for you guys. I did some traveling in the start of May, so I had an opportunity to read a few books that I normally wouldn't have been able to slip in with my work schedule. So I thought I'd talk to you guys about them. So let's get started. The first book I'm going to talk to you about is When God Was a Rabbit by Sarah Winman. Now, the only reason I know Sarah is because of Simon over at Savage Reads. I know I talk about him a lot, but he really does inspire a bunch of my reading. And he had gotten a copy of her new book, Tin Man, and had been talking to me about it, and then told me about her past books. And as I've talked in the past, I couldn't find them here, so I started listening to them on audio. So I listened to this on audio, and then I found the book on Independent Bookstore Day. When God Was a Rabbit is the story of Ellie and her family. Ellie, the book starts with Ellie as a young girl and her family. Her father's an attorney. They live in a city, and she becomes friends with a girl named Jenny Penny. She has an older brother, and it's kind of the story of their life all the way through. The book ends just after 9/11. And what it is really is the story of how this family changes through time together. Ellie is the center of the story, but there are a bunch of different characters that come in and out of their lives. What happens is her family winds up winning money in a pool that they do that is betting on football matches. And they kind of quit their life and restart in the country where their parents start a bed and breakfast. So she goes there, they meet a bunch of really great side characters. Arthur, who is an older gay man who kind of just moves in and takes a role in their lives. There's also their aunt, who is a famous actress and a lesbian who is fantastic. I don't know, there's so many good characters, but it eventually winds up in New York. Her brother, Jack, moves there, and 9/11 affects the family and all of that. I don't want to give too much away, but I will say that I listened to the audio. Sarah reads it, and she's fantastic. I highly recommend the audio. I highly recommend both of the books that I've listened to by her, When God Was a Rabbit and A Year of Marvelous Ways. I cannot wait for Tin Man. I'm so excited. And so that was When God Was a Rabbit by Sarah Winman. I listened to it on audio. It's really, really good. Go out and get it. The next book that I'm going to talk to you about is probably the book this month that I've been most disappointed in, and that was Margaret the First by Danielle Dutton. I'd heard really great things about this book. This book is based on the life of Margaret Cavendish, who is a real-life person and a very eccentric personality. She had quite a life, and this book does do a good job of giving you an idea of that life. She becomes a writer on her own. She's very involved in sort of philosophy and creating her own ideas. But for me, this book was really one note. I felt like the character, Margaret, really never changed or developed. I felt it was like kind of like she was in first gear the entire book. And I just couldn't love her the way I know that a lot of people that know her really love her. And I think the cover is really beautiful. I think that the writer had some beautiful writing in this book, but she kind of got lost. She got so overwhelmed by, I think, her character that she felt that she could just kind of put it out there and it would do the work on its own. And I needed her to do a little bit more work. So I don't know that I would recommend this. I think if I were to say, do you want to know about Margaret Cavendish? I'd probably say there's probably better nonfiction about her, and to read her own fiction than go for this book. But that was Margaret the First by Danielle Dutton. It didn't really do it for me, unfortunately. The next book I'm actually going to show you on my iPad. I did read it, but I've already lent it to someone to borrow. And that is Ghachar by Vivek. Let me see if I can say that. Vivek Shanbhag. I don't know how to say that. I'm sorry. This is a short little book. I heard about this on a number of channels. He is an Indian author that writes in an original Indian language, and this book is translated. I don't know who it's translated by, but it's really the story of this family who is very poor. They live in this little house. It's the father, the mother, 2 children, an uncle, and they all live in this little tiny house. And the father gets laid off from his job, so his brother decides to start a spice business, and that spice business takes off and they become very wealthy, and it changes basically all of the aspects of their lives. And they move into a bigger house, and the children are allowed to grow up to be fairly lazy, and it's kind of a book about how money changes people and how easily money can change people. The oldest son gets married, and his wife kind of plays the voice of reason, the voice of the past, and kind of makes them realize who they've become. And I will tell you, you will not see the end of this book coming. You definitely should read it. It's very much a powerful portrayal of how money can change people, and how if we let it, we may become apathetic to what it allows us to think of as okay to happen. I found it really powerful. It's really beautifully written. It's really well translated, and I really liked it. And that's Ghachar by Vivek Shanbhag. And I really mispronounced that name. I'm really sorry, but highly recommend the book if you guys get a chance. The next book was a gift from Simon, actually, to mention him again, and that's Stay With Me by Ayobami Abedayo. And this book isn't out in the US yet, but it comes out, I believe, in June. So I will mention again, because let me tell you, it's probably going to wind up in my top favorite 10 reads of this year. And look at the cover, is beautiful. Beautiful. Stay With Me is set in Nigeria. It is the story of, and I don't want to mispronounce her name either, but it's the story of our main character who is married to a man, and in the first 4 years of their marriage is not able to have a baby. And I didn't know this about Nigeria, but I guess there's a lot of polygamy where men will marry more than one woman, and she winds up kind of getting blindsided by the fact that her husband marries another woman because his mom really wants a grandchild. Now, the story is really about their relationship and the decision that makes. The decision of taking a second wife, how that affects them. There are so many twists and turns. I don't want to give any of them away, but I will say that she, Ayobami Abedayo, God, I wish I was better at names, but she is one of the most beautiful writers. This is a debut, and she captures the anguish that the main character is going through. She captures duplicity in a way that I never saw. She captures motherhood in a powerful, powerful way. The decisions that the characters make always kept me surprised. You don't know who to trust. You don't know what's being told to you. And when you just think that you figure out how the book is going to go, it doesn't go that way. It is up for the Bailey's Women's Prize. It is shortlisted. I'm really hoping it wins because I think it's phenomenal, and I can't wait to see what else. So that's Stay With Me by Ayobami Abedayo and Adebayo. I'm so sorry, but the book is fantastic. Thank you, Simon, for sending it to me. I really appreciate it. The next book I read was while I was on Booktopia. You guys are about to get a whole bunch of book hauls from Booktopia because, as you can imagine, a whole entire book event for a weekend. I bought a book or 50. So I'm going to have a bunch of those. But I did pick this one up as well and read it. And that is Kate Atkinson's Behind the Scenes at the Museum. This is her debut novel. I had listened to Lauren of Lauren and the Books and Mercedes over at Mercy's Musings talk about listening to audios and buddy reading Kate Atkinson together. And I had only read Life After Life, which came out a few years ago. So I was super excited to get another book by her. Now, this is her debut novel. It's kind of, I would say it's a little bit in the vein of following someone through their life. I would say it's a little bit like Life After Life, and it's a little bit like, what is that book? I can't think of the name of it. But it's kind of Forrest Gumpian. You know, you're at the beginning of the book, you're there with a child. It actually starts from the point of conception for our main character, Ruby, and goes through her adulthood. What I think is really interesting is the book kind of does this flashback piece where you'll do a chapter about Ruby and her parents and their life, and then you'll flash back to either Ruby's parents, her mom, in her life, or Ruby's grandparents, how they got to where Ruby is in their life, which I thought was really clever. She'd mention something and call it a footnote, and then the next section would kind of tell you where that came from in the family, which I thought was really, really cool. I'm going to switch over here. Hopefully the glare will be better from this side. I apologize for that. The book is really, really engaging and stuff. I will give you a caveat. If you don't like books where bad things happen to animals, this book may not be for you, because there are some bad things that happen to animals that I felt a little hard to get through. But the story of Ruby as a character is very engaging. She has so many odd people around her, from her mother to her sisters. It's one of those books where it will tell you something is about to happen and then say, but you'll learn about why it happened later. So you're kind of reading to figure out what the main character is talking about or what she's alluding to. It has a lot to do with World War II, and actually World War I and World War II affect different parts of her family, which was really well done. You're hopping back and forth, you're engaged, you're learning. Kate Atkinson she's a great writer, and I highly recommend this book. It's a great place to start with her, I would think. It is her first novel. It definitely challenges you and keeps you entertained. And I will never forget Ruby. I think she's a really amazing character. So that is Behind the Scenes at the Museum by Kate Atkinson. This is her debut novel, and she's written many since, so I'll be picking up a lot of other stuff from her. And then the last book I'm going to talk to you about, if you guys remember in my graphic novel video, I talked to you about Isabel Greenberg's Night of 100 Heroes, or A Night of 100 Hero. I can't remember exactly the name of it, and how much I love that graphic novel. So I just read her first one, which is called The Encyclopedia of Early Earth by Isabel Greenberg. Still the same amazing artwork inside. It's great. I will say I liked the second one better, but this is really the story of a boy who leaves the land in which he lives to search for part of his soul. And while he's doing that, all these different sort of stories are told to him about how the world has been created from different cultural perspectives. But you'll also recognize that there's some biblical stories that are retold in some really interesting ways. There are stories about finding yourself. There's also sort of this odd and very touching love story throughout it that I really appreciated. I read it in an hour and a half by myself, just locked myself in with my dogs and read it. I loved it. I think Isabel Greenberg is slowly but surely becoming one of my favorite graphic novelists, and that's The Encyclopedia of Early Earth. So that is what I've read so far in the month of May. I'm currently about almost halfway through another book, and I'm hoping to get some more, so I'll have another wrap up for you at the end of the month. Again, there's a big thank you to Simon for turning me on to Sarah Wyman and also getting me one of my books. Thank you to everyone who has talked on BookTube about any of the stuff I've read. If you have read any of these and want to talk about it, please comment below. If you're new, subscribe. Welcome to my channel. If you're back, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Hopefully some of these books will inspire you and you'll go out and purchase them. I look forward to talking to you guys in the comments. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye!